Let's talk about PHP and in general and PHP Includes. If we go to the course website, I'm going to go ahead and go to VT 1400 and go down to the grid. We're going to be going into Includes. So first of all, what is PHP? PHP stands for Hypertext Preprocessor. It is a server-side scripting language used with most of your web servers. If you want more information about PHP and all the things you can do with it, then go to php.net. Why do you want to learn PHP? Simply put, it makes creating and managing web projects easier, more functional, and much more dynamic. So let's go ahead and get started building out our first project. I'm going to go ahead again, I'm in the grid, I'm going to click on PHP Includes. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to snag the CSS file and the index.html file. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the nav.css, and I'm going to copy that out, and I'm going to paste that into Text Wrangler. So we grab the CSS file. I'm going to make that 18 size so you can see that a little bit better. I'm going to go File, Save, nav.css as the naming convention, and go ahead and save that. Alright, let's go in and get the other document that we need out of this page. So I'm back at the PHP Includes tutorial, and I'm going to go grab the index.html file as well. So I'm going to copy that, go into Text Wrangler, create a new document, and paste that in as well, and make it a little bit bigger so you can see what I'm doing. I'll actually soft wrap the text so you can kind of see how that plays out. Let's go ahead and save this. I'm going to save this as index.html on the desktop and say save. So at this point we should have two files. We should have an index.html and a nav.css. And when I drag this into the browser, it should give us a home page that we can manage. It looks like we're missing an image, but I'm not going to worry too much about that at this point. We could go grab that and put that on the desktop as well. It looks like there's an images/cit.jpg that we would need to go grab. Looking at it right there. So what I want to do is I want to break this file up into logical chunks and use some includes so that we can manage our site a little bit better. So let's go ahead and do that. If we go back to our little tutorial, we have this site working, and so what we're going to do now is we're going to pull out different pieces so that content pages can be what they'll be and navigation elements will be what they'll be. So let's go ahead, let's say create a new file called header.php. So I'm going to go ahead and say, ooh, let's grab that. And really all that's doing is it's taking this part of the file and saying, yeah, we want to call that header.php so that we can call that navigational thing in lots of pages and we don't have to change it a whole bunch of times. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to create a new document, paste it, make it a little bit bigger, and I'm going to name this. So File, Save, Header.php. Put that on the desktop. Now PHP is a server-side scripting language, so PHP files don't really run unless you put them on the server. They have to be processed by the server or parsed on the server. And so anyway, we'll go ahead and upload those in just a minute and show you how they work. Now we want to create a new file called index.php. So I'm going to copy that little piece of code. I'm going to come back to my browser. I'm going to create a new document, paste it, make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. And what this is doing is this is saying start PHP. So you have bracket question mark PHP. And then we say include, which says include the file we just created called header.php in that file. So I'm going to go ahead and save this as index.php. So this is going to be the file that pulls everything together and calls the other files. So we'll go ahead and save that. Let's go back to our document now, and now let's look at the content file. So we're gonna say, okay, what do we need by way of content? Well, let's grab this We're going to also add the content to the index file. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to this index file and say, once we've included the header, let's put the content in that file. Next thing I want to do is create a footer file. Now our footer file isn't that big. Sometimes when you're including other kinds of scripts and other kinds of things in your footer, then it gets a little bit bigger. But this one's going to be pretty small. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, create a new document, paste it, make it a little bigger. We're going to save this as footer.php. And go ahead and say save. I never saved index, so I got to save that. So back to footer. So that's saved. So what we should have right now in our index is we have this header, our content piece, and then a footer. Well, we need to go add the footer now because we don't quite have that yet. So let's go ahead and add that in. So into our index page. So I go back to index and I want to include footer.php. So what we're saying is include the header, which is this, include the content, so we're just throwing the content in between that, and then include the footer. So let's go ahead and save this. So this page will now build out if we call this includes. Let's create a new folder. I'm going to create a new folder and call it 1400 include PHP include 1400 PHP Include. So I created a new folder called 1400 PHP Includes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the index file, the footer file, the nav.css, and the header file. Now what I'm going to do with that folder to test to see if it works is I'm going to log on to my server. So I'm going to open my connection, SFTP. Server is ssh.cs.dixie.edu. I'm going to log into my student account and connect. Go to the public_HTML directory. I've got a whole bunch of files here. I'm going to make sure I don't have anything else called this. So I've got a 1400 inc. No, so this should be okay. So 1400 PHP includes. So if I drag that to the server now, I can access that by going to my browser window and typing in dpad, which is my student account, .php.cs.dixie.edu /php include php include PHP 1400 PHP include. So 1400. I'm just putting the name of the folder here, and I changed the name. So now it's pulling up that site. And so what we did is we created a site now. If we go back to our text wrangler, we created a site using a header.php, a footer.php, and then an index file to bring in the header and the footer. Now this is handy because now if we want to create additional pages in our site, we simply include the header and the footer and then change out the content. And so that becomes an easy thing. So if I want to create an index 2 page, let's go ahead and do that. So as part of our example, I'm going to go ahead and say File, Save As, and I'm just going to name this index page index, I'll call it just page 2, page2.php inside that folder. So if I save that, I'm going to call this now page 2. I'm going to get rid of the image because we haven't been using that anyway. And welcome to page 2. So we could put any kind of content in there that we wanted. Let's go ahead and wrap that in paragraph tags. Our footer, and we're going to go ahead and save that. And that should be inside our PHP. So now we have a page 2. Well, you saw how easy that was to create that without really having to redo all the menu or the footer stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and upload that now using CyberDuck back to the server. Go back to my browser. Let me make sure that uploads. Go back to my browser. Now if I type in page2.php, it brings in page 2. The handy thing about this is now that any time that I change my navigation, all those pages that connect to that, it'll automatically change it. So I change it in one place and it changes it throughout the whole website. And that's really the great benefit of doing things in PHP.